What's up, gang? So you'll have noticed by the title of this video, we're here to discuss iRacing versus real life and whether or not it helps. And to do that with me, I've got the freaking man himself, freaking Gavin Rockchamp.
That's right, baby. That's me.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, doing very well. It's we've now finally just hit the start of summer, like the real start of summer here in Australia. So very happy about that because even though I some horrible luck, has a puncture on my tire right now, so I can't take my dog down the beach. So we'd really like to be in the water right now, but
I hear you.
That's all right. Yeah. So you're in Oregon, right?
That's right. Yeah, and it's winter time over here. It's freaking freezing.
Yeah, that's it's always funny talking to my friends in the US because our weather system, like our weather's just complete opposite. So
Right.
while I'm enjoying the sunshine, they've got freaking like just snow or rain. It sounds freaking terrible. So and like our winters in Australia, like they don't come even close to what yours does over in the
Wow.
US. We don't get snow here. It doesn't get particularly cold. Like it does for us, obviously, like comparatively, but we don't deal with cold like nearly the way that you guys do. So yeah, man. So appreciate you doing this with me. How's your weekend been so far?
Oh, it's been pretty good. It's pretty slow. Just filmed some Dirt Rally 2.0 episodes for my YouTube channel and things like that.
Badass. Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a little bit actually, because I want to do a bit of a profile on you before
Cool.
before we actually get into the topic of the day. So tell me, well, actually, you know what? Let's get a bit of an intro first. So we already know your name, Gavin Ropchan. It's right there in the title. But tell us like how old you are, where you're located, if you've lived anywhere else besides Oregon in your life, and maybe if there's like any other hobbies outside of like sim racing and dirt racing that you like to do.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Gavin Ropchan, as you already know. I'm 24 years old, born back in the 1900s. I do live out here in America in Oregon. And my main hobby is racing, but I do tend to like some music too. I really like music. I play the trumpet. I don't really play the trumpet professionally or anything like that, but I love like reading sheet music and listening and playing music.
No kidding. I never would have guessed that ever, especially not the trumpet.
Yeah.
Either. That's such like an interesting instrument to play. So did you play in like your school band and everything?
Yeah. I actually played in a middle school band, and then unfortunately we had like financial cuts and stuff like that, and they had to cut band after the first year of me doing it. So I did band 1 year and then didn't do it again until I was a senior in high school. So I only did band for 2 whole years of my life, but I just love the trumpet.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, so you actually like the instrument itself. What drew you to the trumpet above all other instruments?
Well, my dad actually that was the instrument he played when he was in high school, and the trumpet I used was the same trumpet that he had when he was in high school back in like the 80s or whatever in the world. So I used the same trumpet he did.
No freaking kidding.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to ask that question, actually. I'm stoked about the answer. That's really sick.
That was pretty awesome.
Badass. And so you said you're a bit of a muso. I'm a bit of a music tragic myself. What okay, let's go right now. Like what's like kind of on repeat on your Spotify right now?
Oh man, right now I really like Christmas music, like Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, kind of the old school kind of guys.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh man, Christmas music is I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Christmas music.
I hear you. I understand that.
Yeah. It's like it's obviously because it's such a signifier of like this time of year, and it's a lot of fun to be able to kind of get into the spirit. But when you're maybe not doing so hot at the moment, the last thing I want to frickin' hear is Christmas music.
Yeah, all that happiness.
Drives me nuts. Oh god, it drives me nuts at the moment. But all right, so we've got you kind of down to a surprising personal level. The trumpet is still blowing my mind, man. That's so sick. So what about your background in racing? Like, because okay, so for anybody who's watching this, but maybe hasn't, for whatever reason, followed Gavin's channel yet, you also race real life.
Yeah.
So before we get into how you actually started racing, what is your racing background beyond your own?
Well, a long time ago. I'm not even sure what year. Maybe like 2004 or 2005. I got into like outlaw go karts, which are like the tiny go karts with the wing. Nothing too powerful.
Did you race outlaw karts?
I did. Yeah, I did.
No way.
That's right. Yeah, it was awesome. I raced them here in Oregon. I never traveled outside of Oregon for any race in my life. Unfortunately, that would be cool though. But yeah, I started out in outlaw karts, and then I did that for a long time. And my dad was driving Sportsmans at the time. And then when my dad started driving like super dirt late models at our local track, I stopped kind of go kart racing, and I was just pitting for him full time. And that lasted for years, like maybe 6 years. And then he kind of retired out of the full-time late model gig, and then I hopped into a Hornet, which is like a front-wheel drive, just like normal stock car you'd see on the road. And that thing was a pile of crap. I'll tell you what, that thing was front-wheel drive. You're out there just like flooring it, slow. And I did that for like 3 years. My first race in the Hornet, in hot laps, which is like practice, I nailed the wall like sideways, slapped the wall, and it broke the transmission in half. And that was my only start for the year. I had one start, and then we had to go back in the shop and repair the whole car from top to bottom. And
jeez, brutal stuff.
I know. So 3 years of the Hornet, never won a race, and then or did good, and I really did not do good in the front wheel drive. And then I started driving the Sport Mod, which is what I drive now, the IMCA Sport Mod. And that thing's a blast. Rear wheel drive, that's where it's at. That's where I want the drive to come from.
Yeah, there's a couple of production sedans here in Western Australia that are front wheel drive. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they do it. It seems so contradictory to what it would want to make the car to do. Like, how are you supposed to make the arse end go out in a front wheel drive car? It's absolute madness. So good on them for still getting into it. It's crazy. Now the car that you currently drive, it looks something of like a UMP mod. Is that the kind of closest comparison to if someone was only familiar with the dirt cars that are on iRacing?
That is a fairly close comparison. As far as power, though, my car is far less powerful than a UMP. The UMPs, those guys run like East Coast, where over here in America, and then the sport mods are probably more closer to like a pro late model in iRacing wise, handling and power.
Okay, all right, got that. Now, I'm just going to go back to where you're located in Oregon. If I'm not mistaken, that's where Tanner Homes is located. So I'm guessing outlaw karts are really big in Oregon. Is that right?
Yeah, they're pretty big. At least in Roseburg, Oregon, that's where the main racing happens with the outlaw karts. Yeah,
it's because I mean that kid has such a massive following, and he's obviously quite a talented young driver. So it's and yeah, like the amount of cars that I see at those outlaw kart shows that he's at is just mental. Yeah. It's outlaw karts are actually taken off here in Australia. Actually, my state, Western Australia, is actually kind of leading the charge.
Oh wow!
In its growth. There's like beginner box stocks, intermediates, and opens here in Australia, and I think if you got all the open cars on the same track at the same time, there'd be almost 30 of them, I'm pretty sure, which for our secluded, far away from everything state and city is a pretty good number. So did you have any success in the outlaw kart?
Oh man, I was champion. I won almost every A main I did. Me and this one guy, I forget his name for the life of me, but he would travel like across different states and race. And me and him, every time he came to Oregon, it would be me and him side by side. I would just finish first. I would finish second to him, whatever it would be. But it was awesome. I loved the go-kart days.
Yeah, that's badass, dude. I actually had intentions to get into an outlaw kart, and then I was lucky to find myself in the seat of a sprint car instead, as luck just kind of fell my way. So, all right. So now that we've got your background on racing, we've now established that you were racing in real life before you came over to iRacing. Mm-hmm. Now answer me this question first. Were you on iRacing before dirt became a thing?
That's actually the reason I bought iRacing, is because they just came out with dirt, and I had to check it out.
Yeah, naturally. So, my understanding is that dirt on iRacing has been a thing for about 4 years. Is that right?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I got it in 2017, so just like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that sounds right. Now, so I guess we're going to get into the thick of things here. Is you would have been putting like your dirt racing up on your channel before sim racing became a thing. At what point did you decide to start documenting your sim racing and start like making your channel that way? Because you've developed like a very respectable following for sim racing. It's kind of a there's no shortage of channels. Firstly, and then to kind of separate yourself from the rest of the pack is really hard to do, and you've managed to do that. I personally think by having like a good diverse option of things you can watch. You do circuit, you do road, you do oval, you do dirt, and like just paired up with your personality, it makes it like one of my favorite sim racing channels to watch. So how did you kind of like what made you decide, yeah, cool, I'm going to start documenting my sim racing and build up a channel that way?
I appreciate all those compliments. First of all, that's very kind of you. But I used to watch a Twitch streamer slash YouTuber, Matt Malone. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him, but he just mainly does like road course and stuff like that. He just live streams on Twitch and uploads like his little videos on YouTube, and that's kind of like I would just fry on watching those things all day long, watching those YouTube videos, and I was just like, dude, I gotta start making these. And I started off, no webcam, no talking, just the racing only. And then eventually, built up the confidence to do a webcam. And I remember I would have a hat on and I would put shades on and stuff like that so no one could see my face. And it was a really slow kind of process of building the confidence of, kind of just showing my personality on the internet. And eventually I kind of felt comfortable and yeah, I don't know, I love it. It's a blast. I like making videos and playing iRacing.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I've done this horrible thing where like since I've started real life racing myself, or at least have had a car to kind of work on and take up my time, my sim racing has completely dropped off. Like not only just in general, but I haven't recorded anything on iRacing in some time. But you actually didn't run this season, which I imagine would have opened up a lot of time to focus on your sim racing and getting your content out that way. So, well, firstly, I have to wonder. I have to ask why you didn't run your real car this season, and how you got so good at like all of the disciplines that are on iRacing. Because you've got your circuit stuff, you do your dirt, your oval, and like you do everything at like quite a high level. You're always in the top split for everything. How did it get to that point? Because that's like every discipline is so very different and so much harder than the next one. How did you get to that point?
Yeah, I appreciate all the compliments right there first. But yeah, to answer your first question, the reason I didn't really get to race this season is just my schedule with work, which is just ungodly unfortunate. But that kind of happens
That
sometimes.
does suck.
Income is important, so you got to kind of focus on that.
Yeah.
But as far as how I guess how you would say running top split, it's just kind of just trying to stay clean. It's all about staying clean. That's my main focus. It's not really about focusing on being fast. It's about being able to kind of run guys side by side and avoid wrecks. And that's kind of how I found myself with this like high-ish I rating and being able to run in top split. Because for the guys that do watch my channel, you all know I'm not really the fastest guy out there. It's just I kind of get pretty lucky with just being fairly clean on the track.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like anybody who races dirty isn't putting their stuff up on YouTube. Like, let's be real. Like, you're not going to develop like much of a following, or at least a positive one, being a dirty racer. So I think that's pretty good advice right there. Now you've like I'm going to keep going on your sim racing for just a minute longer, because recently I jumped in on a stream that you and a friend tag teamed this. It wasn't was it Le Mans? I feel like it was like a really long, like 12+ hour event that you and a buddy like paired up on, which was absolutely mental. They must be a nightmare on the bladder.
Yeah, that was that was a gnarly one. That was the 10 hours of Petit Le Mans, and it was in some like I don't know LMP car or something like that, and it was at Road Atlanta. And the longest stint we did was 2 hours each, and at the end we did an hour each, and we did like I don't know we did a total of 5 hours each of racing in the day, and started at 7 a.m. freaking ended at whatever 10 hours later, whatever time that is. And,
you're a trooper, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Trooper.
To sit in one spot and do that is gnarly. I think doing that in a real race car, I think might be a little bit like easier in some ways because just sitting in one spot, not feeling any like G forces or anything at all, it just like it hurts just to sit so still.
Ain't that the damn truth? And yeah, cool, man. So yeah, look, I'm gonna just duck in the middle here and just say, if you're not subscribed to Gavin's channel, do yourself a favor, go and check it out. Yeah, man. So yeah. Look, just to throw just a little bit more, like blow a little more smoke up your ass, just for just 1 second longer. You've really hit your stride because you are right. You've let your personality out now. Like you're very much yourself, I believe. Like when you're streaming or when you're doing your videos, your thumbnails are always fucking mwah. The thumbnails are always elite. And just like the quality of your stuff is like it's I've definitely dropped off my my regular sim racing watching because before I got into it, like yourself, it was all I watched. And then when I got into it, I started to watch it a little less because I was involved. And now I have a real car. It's dropped off a lot. But your channel is the one that I kind of keep up with the most. So, all right, man. So the whole point and purpose of having you here in this video for my channel was because I thought you had some pretty cool insight and a cool kind of take on whether or not sim racing or iRacing helps one in real life translate over to their real car. Now, I've only driven my sprint car twice now, so my input is going to be limited. But the other point and purpose of this video is to try and engage people who might watch this, other drivers and other sim racers who might be able to throw their opinions in the comments section to get some kind of healthy discussion going. So now the difference between you and I mean, apart from a buttload of experience, is you were racing in real life before iRacing, and I was iRacing before I got into a real car. So we're kind of coming at things from a bit of a different perspective here. Now, I'll let you explain it, but the response that you left me yesterday was that you actually found yourself having some success in your real car after getting iRacing and having a lot more opportunities to practice in the times that you weren't in the seat of your real car. So go ahead and speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, so kind of what I was getting at there was a little bit of aspect of throttle control. I didn't really know a lot about throttle control because the cars I was driving weren't really high horsepower or anything like that. It was just lift and then back to full throttle kind of deal. And then after getting iRacing and driving the UMP modified and the super late model, pro late model and everything like that, and realizing that flooring it isn't always fast. When you're in the dry slick, you're spinning your tires, and that was a concept I didn't really pick up on until kind of late-ish. And I remember in my Sport Modified, the first ever race that I won, when I was leading, I had actually never floored it during the whole race. And that, just thinking of that and just realizing that in the car, and then knowing that I learned that from iRacing, it was just a light bulb moment. I was like, wow, I kind of learned something there from iRacing. That's something I wouldn't have probably have done in real life unless I had that experience through iRacing.
Yeah, dude, that's such a cool story. The fact that you got a W after starting sim racing, it's that's super, super interesting. Because I fully agree. I'm not sure that anyone would come in with the hot take of that iRacing doesn't help. I don't think there would be many people who come in here and say that it just flat out doesn't help. I think what most people their opinions would vary is just how much it helps. So I've loved sprint cars for the hugest chunk of my life. I watched them a lot when I was a kid, separated from Speedway a little bit through my teens and stuff, and then reconnected with it again as a late teenager. when you watch something like, for as much as a lot of speedway fans, including myself, watch, you can see what's supposed to happen, but there's not much that can prepare you for what it's like really being in the seat of a race car, because like you mentioned before, you don't get the G-forces, you don't get you don't get the car throwing you into the side of the seat, or like the feeling of being lurched forward when you have to slam on the brakes to miss a wreck, or thrown into the back of your seat when you stand on the gas for the first time, stuff like that. But I think what iRacing absolutely does give us is the ability to understand how not every single car, but a large chunk of cars are supposed to work in regards to having them set properly into the corners, and like you said, throttle control, being able to counter steer at the right amount, not overdoing it so the car snaps up straight and tightens up and stuff like that. And I was actually really interested to hear about the throttle control that you mentioned, because that's a term that gets thrown around a lot in iRacing and also in real life. And I'm kind of like, I'm fascinated at just how big a part it played in like even a car as yours, which you mentioned is like not the most powerful version of that car. So what I'd like to know is how much time were you spending on iRacing during a regular racing season, and were you consciously doing it to try and improve your real life racing, or was it just a happy coincidence that it happened that way?
It was mainly just a happy coincidence that it happened that way. I was kind of actually using the real life racing to improve kind of my iRacing as well, in a way, because when I would be done doing like a race day, I would come home from the racetrack and I would hop right on the simulator immediately, having driven a real car fresh in my mind, and I would hop in a pro late model and I would try to drive it like how I was in real life. Because like in real life on entry, you're using brakes and stuff like that. And iRacing, you can get away with not using brakes. It's kind of slow if you use brakes on entry and dirt. But in real life, there's a lot of brakes that you use. So I was kind of playing with that. And there's definitely some, like bad habits you can pick up on iRacing. Like you can maybe get some like false confidence with how to throw a slide job kind of deal, I imagine. Because throwing a slide job in real life, it's a roller coaster, because your body is physically inside of that vehicle and you are physically going, 60 mile an hour plus sliding up this big old track. It's crazy.
Yeah, so, man. There's no escape toe in real life. Like,
yeah,
it's,
you got that right.
If you junk your car, like you're done. Like it might just be the end of your freaking season, or God forbid your career.
Yeah, and it's gonna hurt too.
Oh man, it is. And I mean, because I've only driven my car twice, like I'm lucky that I haven't been in any wrecks just yet. But yeah, man, like those things are made to save you, but not to make you comfortable.
Right.
That's for damn sure. So yeah, man, if you get banged up, like if you junk your car, if you send it, like if you flip it or if you hit something hard enough, like you're going to feel it like big time.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna have some sore ass ribs the next day. And like I said, like there's no consequence for like a poorly thrown slide job or a bad entry or something like on iRacing. But in real life, you're paying for those things like in real, not only dollars, but you're physically feeling it in like the pain that you feel when that stuff happens. Did you ever have any like bad wrecks when you were in a race car?
I've never barrel rolled or flipped. There's been I have hit the wall, like I mentioned, like in the Hornet, I slapped the wall, broke the transmission. That was a really clean slap of the wall, and hearing, it broke the transmission sounds like it was a hard hit, and I'm sure it was, but I didn't really feel it. It really wasn't that bad. I was kind of surprised after the hit. I was like, that wasn't too shabby. I was thrown into the wall once in the Sport mod. Some guy was underneath me and then washed up the track, doored me, and I had nowhere to go but the freaking concrete wall, and I slapped that thing so hard. And that one I felt. That one was huge. But it didn't break anything on the car. It just broke like the rims on the tire, and the tire and rim were done. But that was all the damage. But that one hurt.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, man. I know it's going to probably happen eventually, where I take a bit of a knock and I'm going to feel it for a day or two. But I mean, that's the best thing about like modern racing is that the safety equipment is just off the freaking chain. So we're about as safe as ever in race cars. So Yeah, man. So, do you have any aspirations to drive in anything besides the car that you're in now?
Well, my dad still, like, he has his super late model. I've driven it once, not like during a race. It was during like packing the track, where the track's still like wet and you gotta like pack it in and things like that. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't anything, awesome. But I still got to freaking drive a super dirt late model, and that thing, oh my word, I thought my sport mod was freaking cool. That thing, oh my god, you barely get on the throttle. That thing's wanting to just go, like, immediately. It is like a Formula One car on dirt. It's impressive. I can't believe people.
It's super interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I just can't even believe people do that. It's crazy.
I know it's so. I spoke about this in my actual driving videos, but like I'm only driving an LS1 sprint car, and in my first like hot laps that I ever took were so unbelievably slow, but they felt like I was going 800 miles an hour because it's something that like I personally think can't be translated. Maybe if you wear VR, it might like kind of it might sort of cross over a little more closely, but fast like speed is just so much faster when you're physically in like a real life vehicle. I think that's something that would be really really hard to emulate, even or simulate, pardon me, even in like the most elite simulator till someone feels like what it's like to be thrown into the back of your seat a little bit when you stand on the gas like properly for the first time. That's a hard one to simulate.
Yeah,
and
it is.
you talked about like your bad habits and stuff like that. Is there anything like that you dealt with personally that you kind of felt yourself getting away with on iRacing and realized quickly in real life that it doesn't apply?
The only thing I can really think of in the moment is trying to press the tear off button on my steering wheel in my real car. I've done that a couple times.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I've done that a few times for sure. I've even done that in my real car. Like when I'm driving down the road and it's raining and I want to use the windshield wipers, I'm trying to press a button on my steering wheel because I'm trying to do a
so
tear
funny.
off. I'm an idiot, dude.
That's amazing, dude. I think I have seen some comments by real drivers like in the iRacing dirt chat, like in a group, which is very quickly become a complete shit show.
Oh, yeah.
But dude, it's not that fun anymore. Yeah, I've seen some people say like they've gone ahead and pressed the tear off button, like when they're in their real dirt car, like, and I personally haven't done that yet because I've only run a practice where the cars are quite far apart. And the races that I ran just last week, they like I kind of let the pack go like quite far ahead of me, so I wasn't gonna like have to deal with any wrecks or whatever that might have happened in front of me. So I got sprayed with a little bit of dirt, but like I didn't actually have to pull a tear off like pretty much the entire night. I tore them off like between your races, but I didn't actually have to go and like grab one between like during the race, which I probably should have just to get some practice in doing it. But you know what? There's another thing that like the simulator just can't teach you. It can't teach you to be heading down the straight doing whatever freaking speed one's car does. Physically taking your hand off the wheel and ripping a freaking tear off and doing it quickly enough where you actually take it off completely and it's not dangling like in front of your face when you're about to hang the arse end around a big turn going Christ knows how fast.
Yeah, dude. I've had plenty of experiences where I got some big old dirt chunks on my tear off and I go to rip it off and since there's dirt on it, the tear off weighs like freaking 2 pounds and it's just like it just doesn't tear off, so I have to do the whole corner just like I can barely see until I can rip it off. And it's that's just a whole aspect of iRacing that just doesn't translate. It's just like vision, because you have a visor. When the track gets dusty, like sometimes you just can't even see the top end of the track when you're running the high line. You just can't even see it. So you're just using what my dad calls the Force, just like Star Wars.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's something that I hadn't really considered is how much heavier the tear off would be when there's a big chunk of dirt on it.
Yeah.
That's I never would have thought of that until it physically happened to me. I wouldn't have thought that was a thing that happened, and that like we'll just add that to the list of things that can't really be simulated. It's
Right.
but it's Okay, so I mentioned this during one of your videos once. It was during a live stream, and from memory, it was a 410 sprint car stream, and some bad stuff happened in the voice chat
Oh,
that
man.
freaking race from memory. That was gross. Anyway, in that group chat when there wasn't slurs being thrown around, there was a lot of criticism of iRacing itself. People whinging about, oh, the track is this, the track isn't that, oh, the freaking, like, the wall riders and this and that. People were really shitting on iRacing, and I just dropped it in the comments that people need to, like, be more appreciative. Like, they need to be infinitely more appreciative of what we have to for us, like for you and myself and for other, like, racers. It's essentially a way to practice. And then for the other 98% of people who are on iRacing, and a category that I thought that I was going to be in forever until very recently, for 98% of people, it's going to be the closest that anybody ever gets to jumping in to actually strapping into the car that they're driving on the simulator. And I think people just need to be more freaking appreciative of that, because we have this amazing thing at our disposal where, like, it's the absolute closest and best thing that we can possibly get to physically strapping into the car in real life, and all people can do is freaking complain about it, and that grinds my gears a little bit.
I agree. Like with the new track that recently came out, Lincoln Speedway dirt track, it showed up with no lights, which, I mean, that's kind of sucks, but it's not like groundbreakingly like horrible. And people were so upset saying that it was 50% done, half done. But I'm pretty sure, light bulbs don't make up 50% of a track. I mean, you still race on it and drive on it just fine. And I mean, they came out with lights like within 5 days of releasing it. So it was just like a huge headache and huge explosion of stuff that I really don't think was required.
Yeah, no, I agree, because the same thing happened with Lucas Oil.
Right.
The same criticisms, actually. Everybody about Lucas Oil was, oh, there's no lights. But I'm not sure if I'm remembering this correctly, but I'm not even sure that Lucas Oil has lights in real life. Am I remembering that right?
I have no idea. I have no clue. It might.
Even
it might
to
not.
now, I haven't actually seen any even sim footage of Lucas Oil at night. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it's really kind of just annoying how quickly people can shit on this amazing thing that we have, because our generations before us didn't have this.
Yeah.
They did not have this at their leisure and their disposal, the ability to go and practice this thing that they're trying to make their whole livelihood out of. And if they did, can you imagine if, like, Steve Kinzer had iRacing, or if Donny Schatz had iRacing, or, like, can you imagine just how much more elite those guys would have been if or would it have done the opposite? Would it have leveled the playing field? I'm just realizing that now as I thought about it.
Yeah, there might have been some other names out there that we don't even know about.
Ain't that the truth? Now, that actually does spark a sort of a tree, like a little branch topic that I do want to get into. I do want to share with something that my club president for the LS1 sprint cars here in WA, we were chatting like after the night was done, because neither of us finished the feature. We were pretty gutted about it, so we were just kind of yapping away, having a bit of a talk. He was nice enough to share with me that I was progressing like significantly quicker than what he said I should have been, and he was curious as if it was because of iRacing. And I'm sure that there is a large chunk of credit to be given to iRacing, absolutely, because I mean, to tell you the truth, man, like driving an LS1 sprint car, to me, when I'm inside of it, it feels like I'm driving a freaking 410, because like I don't drive my street car like even close to that quickly. And I can't help but wonder just how much of an impact it's making, because I have absolutely no doubt at all that it helps, and I'm just wondering how much, because in the short amount of time that I have been on iRacing, I've spent an ungodly amount of time on it, And I have no doubt for a second that getting around in the 360s and the 410s has given me a way better understanding of how the how the car is supposed to move on different types of tracks, when it dries out, when it slicks off, like early in the race when it's wet and heavy, and like the car is way looser with like a tank full of fuel in the back as well. The attention to detail in iRacing is just unbelievable, and it will never ever get the credit that it deserves in my opinion. So yeah, it's not a closing statement, but from my personal experience and from what the people around me who have watched me drive my car the couple of times I have observed, there's got to be some kind of correlation with like having an iRacing background or having iRacing experience and being able to carry it over into real life. Because from a handful of very nice people, they were nice enough to share with me that I was progressing and going a lot more smoothly and quickly around the track, and reaching like high points on the track far quicker than they did themselves, or that they were expecting me to. So, and I don't think that's a coincidence, because a lifetime of observation will certainly give you something, but being able to put your hands physically on the wheel of even a simulated car, it has to have some significant impact. Do you think that there is any correlation or crossover between setups in iRacing in real life? Have you had an experience with that?
I personally really am not like a setup guy. I've had people that do setups on like sport mods and stuff come over and try to like set up a car for me on iRacing, and they've all said that like everything on iRacing is funky compared to kind of what real life is. 'Cause it must be like the engine that iRacing runs on, because they were saying stuff like, something, this should be like 3 inches, but in iRacing you can only get it to 1 inch is the max, but like in real life it's 3 is like the max, and that's where everyone runs it, kind of thing. I don't really know what part, but yeah, I don't know. There's really no correlation with the setups. That's kind of just like the engine that iRacing was built on, and kind of how just everything's coded and works,
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Now, the reason I asked that was because I had someone, the name I won't mention, because I'm not trying to hide their name or anything like that, but just for the sake of contributing to the topic, I had someone who races on the World of Outlaws iRacing tour reach out to me and say, hey, look, I've learned quite a bit from building setups in iRacing, and if you ever need me to come down to the track to help contribute with your real life car, then if the timing lines up, then I'd be happy to do that. And my response was, of course, because I don't really know that much about my car at all. Not yet anyway. I learn more every day, but at this point in time, my sprint car is very much a stranger to me. And I was like, well, what harm could there really be, in maybe letting someone come down and maybe not physically change the car, but say, hey, look, in my simulated experience, this is what could help us tighten the car, loosen the car up, find more speed, whatever it may be. So if anybody has reached this far in the video and you have experience with the crossover between iRacing and real life, or if you think that it doesn't exist, I'd love to hear your input on that one. Because there's a sea of setup shops and speed shops across the vast lonely desert of Facebook groups when it comes to
all the wars happening.
iRacing. Oh my goodness, dude! Absolute gong show. Oh god. It was I'm not sure if you had this experience, but it was funny for about the first day or two, and then it got old. It got old so quick. It got
really old.
And it's kind of slowed down now, but now they're attacking young kids that are taking photos on iRacing. Nobody's safe.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's become a horrifically negative group. It's someone's got to try and turn it around, because we definitely need some more positivity in there. Because my experience with that group, when I first jumped on iRacing, I was posting up a couple of videos about the first podium I had in a 360, my first win in a 360, my first ever win in a sprint car, it got hundreds and hundreds of likes, and so many people were nice, like, and positive in the comments. And then within 3-4 months, it's just become just a gong show of people sniping at each other and calling each other out. It's essentially just like a name and shape group now. It's that they'll screen record, like, someone, net coding them, like, into the freaking wall, and like and they'll tag them by name and everything, and I'm just not sure that that's completely necessary or needed. Like, come on, y'all. Like, this whole thing was like created to try and, like, simulate what most of us will never get to do in real life, and give us an opportunity to connect with people that share our similar interest in what we have. Because you and I are a perfect example. Like, we may never have connected in any kind of meaningful way if it wasn't for iRacing, but I found your channel, and even though we'll never find ourselves in the same race unless it's hosted, because my iRating is like literally less than half of yours.
Oh my goodness.
But it's given us a chance to, like, connect on this cool thing that we have in common, and it'd just be way cooler if people grabbed onto that instead of, like, shit talking each other.
100%. Yeah, it's a great tool to meet a lot of people. I mean, freaking, you're all the way across the whole entire world. Like, for you, it's tomorrow. For me, like, it's amazing.
It is tomorrow, and like, you and Austin have a really good, like, relationship. Austin, it's Austin Miller, right?
Missler. Yeah, you got that right.
Missler, that's right. Armed for Gaming on YouTube. Yep. He's actually had a really big takeoff in the last couple of months since the Water Outlaws Dirt game came out. He was picking up subscribers like nobody's business, and those videos of his were getting monstrous amounts of views when that first came out. Was super stoked to hear that, because he seems like a really cool dude. Haven't spoken to him a whole bunch, but he seems like a really, really nice cat.
Yeah, and he's an awesome guy.
And much like yourself, he kind of like dabbles in all of the disciplines as well.
For sure.
Which is really cool to see. Yeah, man. So just to throw a blanket over the whole thing, like, so it's a yes or no question, but feel free to elaborate as much or as little as you wish. iRacing, does it help in real life?
Absolutely. Yeah, it helps with, like, spatial awareness. Being able to hold your line is a really big thing. Entering the corner low, exiting low, entering mid, exiting mid. Because, in iRacing, you get the mirror, so you can, like, watch and kind of see where guys are behind you and stuff like that. In real life, there's no mirror. You just have your ears and your brain. And you can really tell where someone is. It's kind of surprising. You can hear the sound of combining engines, is kind of what I call it. You can hear the other guy's engine. You can paint a picture in your mind. You're basically driving in third person, pretty much. And yeah, holding your line is massive. That's a massive takeaway from iRacing as well.
Yeah, dude, that's incredibly well said. The whole being able to hear other cars thing, that is hugely underappreciated and not spoken about enough when it comes to talking to real life drivers and what the experience is really like. Because I've listened. They're not active anymore. I'm not sure what happened to it, because they started active this season. But there is or was a podcast for the World of Outlaws. It was called Open Red, and they. Early on in the Open Red history, it was an interview-based podcast. They would interview drivers and crew members and promoters and this and that, and then it became a bit of a broadcast show in a way. They would, like, recap the races from that week, the ones that are coming up, the points race, all that kind of stuff. And there's an episode that I have listened to an ungodly amount of times called, the title is called How to Drive a Sprint Car. And they have Greg Wilson and Shane Stewart come on and give their respective opinions, not opinions, but their insights on what it's like to drive a car, drive a sprint car. And they go all the way from starting the sprint car, which is where I got the idea for my How to Start a Sprint Car video, all the way to throwing slide jobs and what happens to your car after you throw a slide job and how it affects the tires and, like, how it's going to affect the rest of your race.
Yeah.
And one of the things that comes up in that conversation is being able to hear what's going on around you. And I was super surprised to hear just how well you can hear the other cars. It turns into your mirror essentially.
Yep.
Because iRacing it is a bit of a cheat code in that you don't have a mirror in real life, obviously. But even iRacing has that dynamic sound where you can hear, like, there's other engines around you and what side of you it's on, and that hugely, massively translates over to real life. Absolutely. Because it's hugely important, obviously, to be aware of what's going on around you in a race car. It's super important because you're not only responsible for your own safety and your own not junking your own car, but you're responsible for everybody else's safety and not junking their equipment either.
Yeah.
Because especially at the level that we race at, everybody's trying to get home for dinner. You know what I mean? So yeah, and no one's trying to bankrupt each other. Trying to race for 10th. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
So
100%.
100%. And you're right. You're right. Like iRacing will teach you how to hold your line and what you have to do to enter the low, the mid, or the high, and exit in the same way. Or it can teach you how to enter high and exit low. It'll teach you how to be a good lap car, like how to just monitor what's going on around you and stay out of the way. Or if one is brave enough to move out of the racing lane and just to potter around the slow part of the track where nobody else wants to go. Because that's one of the big things that I was told in my first couple of times in the car is it's essentially they say to you, you do you find your way around the track, you find what's comfortable for you, or where you can go the quickest, and everybody who is faster than you will make their way around you safely. And it does ring true, very much so.
Yes.
Driving in the sim, driving on iRacing will people will be a lot riskier, and they'll maybe not be so cautious in that if you're a lap car and they're trying to get around you, they'll probably throw a pretty nasty slider on you, and it's almost becomes your job to get out of the way of it in some cases. But in real life, people are playing with their literal lives, their safety, their health is on the line, and unless you're professionally driving for money and to keep sponsors happy and to for potentially your seat in that car for the next season, most people are just trying to get home that night. You know what I mean? So it's the awareness absolutely goes up, and the want to be safer greatly increases when you're responsible for controlling a real life car.
That's for sure. And I think that's another thing that it kind of translates from real life to iRacing. Once you kind of start racing in real life, you'll kind of start being more safer and start, being able to dodge things in iRacing a lot easier.
I'd agree with that because I mean, while I'm never gonna maybe strap into I'd really like to strap into a midget one day just to see how those things go, because behind sprint cars they're definitely my favorite type of class of car to watch in real life, and they're absolutely my favorite car to drive on iRacing. No question, they are my absolute favorite. But it's I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but it's that'll happen to me from time to time. But man, it's everything. Everything is applicable, and it's hard to give a gauge or a percentage on exactly how much it does or does not help. But what I personally would love to see it's for a group of people or a company or a channel that has means and a reach far beyond my own. I personally would love to see this experiment happen. I would like to see two people who have never driven a dirt car or even a race car ever in real life. I would like one of them to be given 2 or 3 months on iRacing making and like I mean like okay, you have access to iRacing. Go and drive like whatever dirt car you want, but you will end up in say let's say they get put into like a 3 or 5 sprint car. Okay, one of those people has access to iRacing for 3 months. And they can run it as much or as little as they want, but they know in their heads that the more they practice, the more likely it is that they will benefit from that in real life. And then those two people would be taken to a track on the same day at the same time and be like, okay, you guys are going to get into this car. Let's see if iRacing actually helps. Because I think that would be one of the coolest like sim racing to real life experiments that could possibly come to be. And I think it would be one of the most definitive factors on whether or not this because it is a question, but it's just how right or just how applicable the answer really is. And I personally would love to see 2 people, one who has access to iRacing and one who doesn't, get thrown into a car and see what happens.
I agree. That sounds like an awesome idea. I hope iRacing is listening. Hope you guys get that done.
everybody tag iRacing now. This will be my breakthrough video. But yeah, dude, that's I think that kind of wraps it up. Like I feel like if we could probably talk ourselves through like a heat race or something and be able to discuss what we're doing at any given time and what we're thinking about at any given time. I'm going to repeat something that I've said on just about all of the videos that I've said, that I've actually, the 2 videos that I've physically been in the car. Your senses heighten to a degree that I never would have thought possible. Because when I sat in my sprint car for the first time, just sitting in the shop, I sat in there, I was like, I can't see freaking anything. Like I have the big like open door to my left, but you look out to the right and there's the big freaking wing sitting right there. You're looking over like a slit over the top of the bonnet that you can barely see and then you've got the big freaking top wing sitting right in front of that. You can't see your front wheels. And I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to see anything? How am I supposed to know if there's cars around me, or like where my tires are, how close I am to the wall, how close I am to the concrete curb on the bottom? Like, how the hell am I supposed to know this? But when you start driving it, fuck me if it doesn't. Everything just makes sense.
Yep.
In that moment, it's unbelievable how much instinct kicks in. Like when you're in the seat of the real car, just because suddenly everything's so quiet, but it's really loud at the same time. But it's to the point where you can hear everything. Suddenly, I feel like I have freaking 180, or 240, whatever the hell it is we have, vision, and there's no blockage at all. Mm-hmm. And just being you just kind of know how much to stand on the gas, or how much to get off of it, and how much wheel to give it, and how much counter steer. It's I have not turned even close to a perfect lap yet. I've turned some really good corners, so 1 and 2 at the Motorplex, which is the track that I've run at, and where I will mostly run at as long as I have this sprint car to drive. I've gotten through 1 and 2 quite a few times better than I ever would have hoped to, but 3 and 4 is completely different. Even though it looks the same from a bird's eye view, and you look at the track and it's like, well, those are identical corners. They're really not. That for some reason 3 and 4, it just seems almost longer in a way, because the amount of times that I've gone and set the car and then it's gotten loose, or the car has straightened back up because I didn't set it enough. The characteristics of real life racing, it will never be perfectly simulated, but I personally think that iRacing does a really great job. I think a really good example of that is Lucas Oil, actually, because the 2 corners are for sure different, and then you've got that sort of bank, the cushion ends sort of at the top. Guys will still run that flat, but yeah, it does. I've still seen sprint cars run the flat part of that top bit, which is insane. I didn't know you could do that, or that it would be fast if you did. But it's it does such a great job of emulating the characteristics of how a track sort of changes. It's not perfect. One thing that maybe I would like to see improved is when you do a test run, and you set the track to like a certain amount of wear or of slick, it's quite patchy in ways, and there's you'll get like big chunks of slick in certain places, and it'll like moisten or grip it up again in different places. I think Limaland comes to mind. Like when you manually set the wear, the slick is in some really bizarre places at times, but
it does.
It's just another thing that iRacing does extremely well and will help someone prepare for if they were to ever strap into a real car. Yeah, man, look, we've been on the horn here for 55 minutes, which is, I thought that's actually longer than what I thought we were going to be in here, but we definitely didn't struggle for conversation. That's for damn sure. And
that was awesome.
we could talk for a significant amount longer about this. I think that, who knows, maybe I'll turn this into like a little couple part series, like with another like sim racer / real life driver to see what their opinions are on the whole thing. But before we go, I have some quick fire questions for you, and I'm gonna I'm gonna bring these up because I used to do a podcast a couple of years ago, and this was like my favorite part of doing the whole show. So I'm gonna rip these at you. They are supposed to be quick fire, but there's some of them that'll really make it. They'll make you think, and they might stump you a little bit. So we'll get through the list, but like we'll see how we go. So all right. So the first question is, what is your most prized possession?
Right now, my most prized possession is my race car. I'm Safe Sport Mod.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I mean, if someone owns a race car, unless they own multiple, like it's probably they're just their pride and joy. When someone comes to like your house or whatever, it's like the first thing you want to show them, and
that's
it's
right.
like it's your display picture for all of the socials, and it's kind of a no-brainer. So, all right, what's your favorite TV show?
I really like SpongeBob. I haven't watched it in a while, but that's one of my damn favorites. I love that show.
Do you still watch it now?
No, I mean I don't really like the new episodes. I like the older episodes, like when I was a kid. I don't really watch any TV. I more just watch YouTube. Honestly, that's what I watch.
Yeah. I've become a big YouTube watcher as well. All right, celebrity crush.
When I was in like high school, I had a crush on Miranda Cosgrove, iCarly. Like, yeah, I don't know if you know what that is, but boom.
I'm not sure that I do, so I'll have to Google that one. I'll have to Google this one afterwards. All right, what's your favorite snack?
Snickers.
Oh, good choice. That's a good ass chocolate too. All right, so what's something that you have like way too much of, like something that you've continued to accumulate, knowing full well that you already have enough of this thing, but for some reason you can't stop buying it?
iRacing, like cars and tracks. I have so many.
Yeah, I think, but like that's the thing. Like when you've developed like your skills at every single discipline, it's just going to kind of happen, isn't it? It's kind of a given, and it also allows a lot of diversity for your channel as well, which is no one ever complained about. Okay, you're a pro wrestler. What is your walkout song?
Oh geez, that's gonna have to be like a System of a Down song, maybe like Toxicity or Waterfall. I don't even know what the song's called, but it's got to be like a hardcore song for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. Oh, this is a tough one. It stumps more people than what you would think, or maybe you're going to be so sure about your answer, maybe you'll surprise us. Let's find out. Burger or pizza?
That one is a tough one. I really like burgers, but I'm gonna have to go with pizza on this one. I think there's a lot more options and variety you can get with a pizza than you can with a burger.
Okay. I do appreciate that. I'm not much of a sharer when it comes to my food, and I have a lot less chance of someone like you're trying to get a bite of my burger than what I do a bite of my pizza. So
I hear that.
But I'm also just a sucker for burgers, man. Like, I could eat them shits all day.
I'm same way.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm not sure if you've done much traveling around the US, but what's the most underrated city in the US, do you think?
Underrated city in the U.S. Yeah, I really don't know many cities, but I know a lot of people really don't like Portland for various reasons. But Portland's a really cool place here in Oregon. It's not the capital, but it's like the place where that's mostly talked about. There's a racetrack there that I didn't even know about myself until like 5 years ago, like a professional road course that the top of the line boys go to every year. I didn't even know it was there. And there's a lot of stuff to do in Portland. It's a cool place. It ain't that bad.
All right, so people, let's give some more love to Portland.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your favorite movie?
Oh geez, I like Rush. It is a racing movie with about Niki Lauda and James Hunt, their rivalry in Formula One in like the 70s and 80s. It is one damn good movie. Damn good.
Awesome. I'll have to check that one out. All right. If you could play any pro sport, I'm going to eliminate motorsports from this. So
no.
If you could, yeah. I'm throwing you off on this
man.
one. If you could be a pro athlete in any sport that isn't motorsport, what would it be?
Well, geez, the next thing that goes super fast is like an airplane. So I don't know, something like in the sky in an airplane hauling ass, doing some aerobatics or something.
Yeah, they have those Red Bull like jet things there. They're pretty impressive. So way to be creative and keep it with something with an engine. So well done.
Thank you.
All right, let's do like two more. Would you rather be able to fly or to time travel?
Time travel for sure.
Okay, follow-up question: where are you going and why?
I would go so many places. I would go back and I don't know, just witness various things that happen in history, like the bad things, the good things, and the creation of freaking Earth. I would just look at everything, and I would document it, right? I would document everything, and I would come back and sell it, right? I would go back and then invest in Apple and stuff. I would do stuff like that too. I would just I would be the man, dude. I'd be the man.
Get on that cryptocurrency early, baby.
Yeah. Buy everything, freaking yeah. I'd be the man.
Oh, what's that? You're starting a thing called Google? Yes, I will invest in.
Right.
Have my $10 and turn it into 50 million. Thank you very much.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting that you're not actually trying to change the past. You're just trying to document stuff I can get behind that.
That's like some butterfly effect stuff. You don't want to go in the past and change it. You might end up like disappearing or something. And turn into nothing because you were never born if you change something.
It's a risky play. All right, man. Last question. And I'm actually excited for this one because I'm pretty sure you have a pretty diverse music taste, and you're a musician yourself. So, if you're starting a cover band, okay, what band are you covering, and what part would you play in that cover band? And this is like a fantasy thing, so like you don't have to be able to play like the instrument, or you don't have to be able to sing or whatever in real life. This is like all fantasy. So if you could do a thing like well enough to do a cover band for it, what cover band would you start, and what part would you play in it?
It would be Van Halen. They were big in like the 70s and 80s, not 60s. And that would be Eddie Van Halen, shredding on the guitar, playing solos in front of hundreds of thousands of fans, just freaking rocking out, long hair, all the ladies, being the man on stage.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I love it. All right, man. Well, look, thanks, Hayes, for having this discussion with me. I feel like we kind of covered like everything and nothing at the same time. Like it's such a broad question. There's so many like elements to the discussion that it would be hard to cover everything. So who knows? Maybe there'll be like a part 2 of this with like another crossover, like sim racer. Like a real life driver that I can sort of get their opinion on the whole thing. Now, before I let Gavin go, before I end this video, thanks for checking it out. I appreciate it. If you have an opinion on this, if you drive a real car and also sim race, or sim race into a real car, whatever direction you went, If you have an opinion on this, we'd love to hear it. So put your opinion or your input in the comments section, because this is, and please, for the love of God, keep it positive and keep it healthy and supportive. Please don't be a dick. It's too easy to delete dick comments, so don't waste your time. I will get rid of them. But yeah, gang, if you have an input, would love to hear it. Gavin Robchan, it's all in the name. Go and check out that channel. He's got like over, I think, close to 3,500 subscribers for a reason. Just pure charisma and cool, and a huge diverse range of videos to check out. Gavin, are you like anywhere else on the socials that anyone might be able to come and track down your stuff?
Yeah, you can come find me on Twitter as well. I post there every now and again. It's at GRopchan, GROPCHAN is where you can find me on those socials. And
Gavin has a Discord as well. If you want to go and jump in there, there's always some stuff going on there. You host a lot of races too, Gavin. So yeah, if you want to get in on some hosting stuff, that's the place to be. So alrighty, gang. Well, thanks for checking it out. Appreciate it. Till next time. Bye for now.